Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all. It's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, aboxwithnolid, a channel I've created to not only delve into the lived realities complex trauma creates, but to get into the mechanics of it and to delve into ways and explore different ways of healing and to get the most out of the support resources you're able to get into to help you to become, to fulfill all you hope to for your life. Now, in this video today, I was reminded the other day of how pressured we often are in recalling the memories of what happened. So I thought it was important to make this little video on how memory and narratives go hand in hand. Because this understanding is really needed when we try to recall the memories of what happened. This is particularly when you're looking at abuse and harm related trauma. And because often it comes, into the situation where, the memories need to be brought to the surface and because of court action or because of investigations, potential charges, or because of the requirements placed on a person by therapists to be able to justify, qualifying for therapy grants and sessions. And I see this happen very, very often. And in all the years of advocacy, I see this happen more often than not, where the memory's accuracy is not there because it was reconstructed to meet the narrative of who was pushing to have it recalled. And the understanding of the nature of memory is not there. And it puts the person in a very, very vulnerable position. And when they're discredited, if they're discredited, it pretty much ends so many facets of support, help, and understanding. This is something that needs to be taken extremely seriously. And the reality of how our memory works needs to be understood by whoever is asking the questions. Because memory, recall, and narrative go hand in hand. How we recall our memories will fit the narrative that is present to be fulfilled. It is part of our makeup. It is part of the biological components of being a herd species. But it is also a large component of traumatic response. When we go through traumatic experiences that overwhelm our ability to respond, everything we believed we were and everything we believed was safe gets disproven at that point. I've said that in several videos. That means we've handing our power over. Our survival is in the hands of a perpetrator, predator, or whoever we're calling out to help save us, to help rescue us. That pathway plays a huge part every time we get threatened or are under stress after that. Therefore, if we're put in a position to recall memories, to go into those uncomfortable places and try to push through the blocks and the barriers to memory recall, that comes to the surface. And all the components of how we read the room and the environment to improve our survivability, our narrative of survival, our threat response, comes into play in the recalling of what stands out in a room full of memories. What we say and what we skip over, what we point out and what we don't, what we avoid and what we see. There's all these components at play wrapped around what we perceived as threat, as that threat ecology, what was in the environment that harmed us, and how our body is going back into that state. And that's what I mean by our memories and our narratives go hand in hand. And this needs to be understood, especially, as I said earlier, when we're looking at the pursuit of justice, of charges and investigation in abuse cases, and also the desire to get to be valued enough by a practitioner to get help, or to try to get some form of support in different sexes when you're dealing with social services and medical and so forth. Now, how do we get around this? There's no foolproof way. But what I've found useful is our body records everything. One of the primary constants, actually the only constant in our entire physical universe, is everything gets recorded. The further you dig a hole into the Earth Mother, the further back in her experiences you go. The deeper you go into DNA, into RNA, the further back in generational history you go. Everything that bleeds records its memories within its DNA and cellular structures. Everything that doesn't records its memories and experiences within its atomic structure. The rings of a tree. There's all, it's a constant. There's nothing in this physical universe that doesn't record its experiences. Memory is a critical component of physical existence. And it's a story. So, as we are an ecology, or we're multitudes of ecologies, depending on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, look at those ecologies to help create the signposts and the marker posts, to help guide the questions that need to be asked. Recently I've seen on social media some of the videos of World War One veterans demonstrating shell shock. How their body is responding to concussion, how their body is responding to months and months and months in trenches of being shelled. That shows you what the body's recorded. The deprivation, the constant threat. You don't need to ask about it. You know it's there. You know the ecology that person was in. The story, enough of the story is told to be able to build that base. The interpretation is evident in the body's reflections and the body's responses. I've also been reminded of this, in my own story of one of the constants in my life is whenever I'm under any form of threat or stress, my throat, my breathing is affected. My breathing shuts down. My throat closes, I aspirate, I literally feel things in my throat. I can't swallow, and it's common. But in my case, it goes on for weeks and months. It's not a momentary thing that abates. It's a 24/7 thing for weeks and months. That's why I get a little croaky on these videos, because of, 50 plus years of living this. But I also understand what my body is trying to tell me. Because I inhaled the mecromium when I was born, my lungs had to be suctioned at the moment, I couldn't take my first breath. So my first initial bar being ripped from my mother and everything associated with that, my body went, the environment I'm being born into, I have tubes and suction. My lungs are on fire and burning and all these different things, and I can't breathe. And it emulates that environment because it was embedded and taught to. So I know that I went through that because my body's remembering it. The same as a World War One veteran body remembers the trenches. And that helps me to understand that no, it's not a tumor, no, it's not this, and all the things that my brain goes to, the ranting part of our consciousness. I know it's recording this, and I need to get myself as grounded in my present environment as I can to try to ease it or get it to abate. We all have our body's story that is trying to tell us about what happened. And that's not just one of the memories of mine. My body has a whole bunch, but that's an easy way of explaining what I'm trying to convey here. Is create the markers of the ecology that you were harmed in by looking at what your body is trying to tell you. I'll do other videos on this and explore it deeper, but that can help guide your recall when you have to. Because justice is a huge component, especially when you're dealing with abuse. And I will do videos on it. But justice is a very, very hard thing to get. And the pressure that is put on you to be able to meet the level required for action to be taken, it's a very destructive and unbeneficial path for the person that's gone through it. But we need to find ways too, because perpetrators cannot get away with what's been done. But we need to understand the ecologies that are involved so we can construct a way of getting the truth without destroying the person that we're getting the truth from, and without setting them up to be humiliated by the opposition, especially when you're dealing with court. Because they'll pick apart, a memory. To give an example, when one of the motorcycle accidents I experienced is when I was hit and dragged. In the court, the insurance company's lawyer was totally fixated, did 1,000 questions on, did you hit the left or the right side of a headlight? And as I said, this has played out to me so many times I can't tell you. But he continued to badger that point to the point where bad things almost happened. I almost lost it in that courtroom because of being triggered. I actually did go into a full PTSD state. And thankfully the judge was aware enough to stop it before things got bad. But this is the thing. When you're seeking justice, you are not a person in the eyes of the system. You are a part of a process that needs to have all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. So we need to get back to people being people and understanding these ecologies so that we can do this to get the truth without destroying the person in the process. And also in therapeutic sessions, getting the understanding required to be able to get the body the accuracy needed for the body to release without artificially creating memories that are distorting memory recall through meeting a narrative. So, as I said, there's a lot of information here, and I will do further videos on it. But for now, really take a moment and go, yes, I understand, and I'll look into how memory and narratives go hand in hand. As always, I love your guys' feedback and questions. And please be respectful, please be mindful, please be kind and gentle with yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Hope.